Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's presentation of the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series here on 10-4 Broadcasting. I'm Mitchell Adams and I am being joined by Will Tiller as always here. We are excited to bring you the racing action tonight here from Talladega in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series. Only 3 races left in the season, Will. Things starting to heat up here on the track and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yes, Mitchell. This has been a treat for us all season long here in the National Sim Racing Association Max Graphics Super Speedway Series here, Mitchell. We've had 9 different winners in this series. Nobody has yet to go back-to-back, and nobody has yet to pick up multiple wins on the season. So this is crunch time for these drivers for sure.
It definitely is, and if you're up there in the point standings right now, now is your time. You got to start working at it, because if you have a bad run tonight, you could be out of contention for the championship. So tonight is a very important night for a lot of these drivers, and the action is sure to heat up here as our 55-lap race from Talladega.
55 laps at Dega. This is quite the shootout we're going to be in store for here tonight. But a little news here coming into tonight's race. Nathan Maurer, who is our points leader, is going to be out of tonight's action. So it's definitely going to open the door for anybody else to climb up there in the table and possibly knock him off that top spot.
Yeah, Nate Maurer's had a very strong run all season. Of course, like you said, points leader, but not going to be here tonight, which is definitely not what you want to see if you're Nate Maurer. But if you're his competition, that opens up the door for you to move in toward that points lead late in the season. Like we said, only 2 races after today. We go to Legacy Daytona, which is the old bumpy version of Daytona, and then to the current scan of Daytona, and that's it. Those are your 2 races once we leave Talladega, Alabama here tonight to get up into that championship. So the pressure on, like we said, Will, and going to take it out on track here because I believe qualifying is about to get going. Here we're looking at number 4, Martin Plute, getting a little bit on his lid right before we go qualifying. As you can see there on the screen, though, the session is over. And we are going to roll into qualifying here at Talladega. Will, we've got, I believe, a 12-car field here tonight, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of drivers showing up here to take to the field tonight. We'll get a look at the cars as they're out on qualifying. But what do you expect from the aggression level tonight, Will? I know we're late in the season, like we've talked about it. Do you think drivers are going to take it easy earlier on to try and make sure they're in it for the points later? Or do you think they're going to go out there and try and get all the positions early to stay in front of any accidents that might happen?
Yeah, Mitchell, that's an excellent question. Looking back at Monza last week there, that Doug Neal picked up the win in the Simbox Racing Machine, we saw even at Monza the action picked up from the green flag. So I can only imagine what it's going to be here tonight, because I know these boys love the super speedways, and I can't wait to see who's going to be climbing up there to the top. And 2 names, Mitchell, that I like to mention every broadcast just because neither one of them has picked up a win, and that's Ben Mashburn and Chris Darling. Neither one of them has picked up a win on the season, and they like to tandem 1-2 in the top of these lead packs, but neither one of them has been able to get that car across the finish line in that first place position. So keep an eye out for those drivers here tonight. But Mitchell, to answer your question, I feel like the aggression is going to turn up. The heat's going to start burning here pretty quick. Faster than a sauna at a YMCA there, Mitchell. It's going to get pretty hot here at Dega.
I definitely agree with you there, Will. I think tonight might be one of the most action-packed races we've seen in a season that's been full of action-packed races. I think we're definitely going to be in for a show here tonight. As you mentioned, Chris Darling here, out looking for the win here at Talladega to get back into the points and hopefully rally up into the points lead, take over Nate Maurer tonight. You see Chris Darling out there on his first qualifying lap here tonight. Ben Mashburn is also here tonight, but he is not out on track at the moment. Waiting for someone to put in a qualifying time here, and then we'll get looking at him. We'll see Martin Plute, I think. Well, he's just about as close as Chris Darling was here, but the first lap, and this is how it goes at most of these plate tracks, everybody's up top trying to gather momentum up on the wall, and you see Chris Darling now down on the inside for his fast lap. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see here as drivers are just now getting onto their second laps. Martin Plut's out on track. Here's the 98 of Jeremy Richmond, who he had a strong run last week at Monza, Will. Definitely good showing for that number 98 car, and he's looking to repeat it here tonight at Talladega.
He really did. He had a really strong run throughout that race last week, Mitchell, but as you know, in this Max Grafix Superspeedway Series, it doesn't really matter what you do during the race. It just matters what you do on that final lap. And we've seen it throughout the season here. A lot of guys will dominate the race, leading hundreds of laps or leading major portions of the race, but just can't cross the finish line first, and opens the way to have 9 different winners on the season here, Mitchell. So, boy, a win for one of those guys is really going to launch their place in that point standings. But Mitchell, I am excited for some of these new drivers we have racing with us here tonight. I do want to mention that the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series is openly recruiting for next season. We are moving to the next gen cars, also adding Atlanta to the schedule. So be on the lookout for that. And if you like tonight's action, definitely jump over to National Sim Racing Association on Facebook, and definitely hit up Chris Darling for that next season. Or if you want to jump in a few of these last races here, you're welcome to do so. And boy, Mitchell, we are in for it here tonight. Who do you have an eye on here tonight at Talladega?
I think everybody here is a strong contender for this race. Isaac Singleton, we're looking at him now. He's kind of been quietly hanging around through some of these races late in the season. I'm expecting that 95 to get aggressive and try and make something happen here. I am also watching, you talked about him earlier, Chris Darling, who's off track at the moment, but currently sitting on the pole here at Talladega. We'll see where Isaac Singleton comes across the line. Not fast enough for the lead up to third for Singleton. But I'm looking at Chris Darling, really fast in qualifying. Comes into tonight third in points behind Nate Maurer and Jason Shu, who it looks like took over the lead, at least according to what I'm looking at of the standings last week. But Chris Darling comes in third, needs some points to get up into that battle for the lead. I look at him to be hungry here. You're looking at the 71, though, of Brianna Lavin. I'm hoping I'm saying your last name right, Brianna. She's out there for her first lap of qualifying. No, I take it back. She's done with qualifying, sitting 5th on the board right now. That's a newcomer into the league tonight. So I'm going to watch for what that number 74 or 71, machine can do here tonight to hopefully get into victory lane in her first start in the series. But qualifying has wrapped up. Will, going to take you through your starting order here tonight. From Talladega in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series, it is Mr. Max Grafix, Chris Darling, in the Taz Racing Customs machine, who is going to start it on the pole position. Of course, Taz Racing Customs, another sponsor here in the National Sim Racing Association. Have to shout them out if you have a custom diecast need. Definitely check out Taz Racing Customs. They do a lot for the league. Jeremy Richmond, though, going to start it off in the second position. Isaac Singleton in the number 95 qualifies third. Martin Plut in the number 4 rolls off fourth. Brianna Lavin in her first start here in the NSRA is going to start in the top 5 in the 5th position. Then it's Josh Sobel in 6th. Randy Perdue in the number 25 car. Mike Floppy Tellier in the number 97 starts 8th. Stan Hausman in that number 93 machine is going to start off in the 9th position. Ben Mashburn, another one you mentioned, Will, to keep our eye on, starts 10th. And then rounding out the field is your points leader, Jason Shu, in the number 3 car. And Jeff McCarter in the number 74. Round out your 12-car field here tonight. And Will, all 12 of these drivers, I think, definitely hungry for the win here tonight late in the season. Some of them have a lot to prove here. As we get down to it, I'm looking forward to seeing what these drivers are going to do.
Me as well, Mitchell. And I like to call those guys, Chris Darling, Ben Mashburn, as you're talking about how hungry they are in tonight's race. I like to call them the junkyard dogs, because you always see them every race come out with a lot of aggression to start the race, but just seems to simmer off towards the end, or they're just caught up in a big one, or just mishaps towards the end. They just haven't been able to put those cars across the line. But as we have an opportunity to do so, Mitchell, I do want to give a special shout out to our producer here at 10-4 Broadcasting, Tim. Tim actually suffered a dog attack over the weekend, and he was in the hospital Last I heard, he got about 20 stitches in his arm and his stomach. So I do want to send our positive vibes. And if you're a praying person, prayers to his way for his speedy recovery. And hopefully we'll have him back up in the booth here with us, Mitchell, pretty soon.
Yeah, we're definitely sending our best wishes to Tim and hoping that he can have a good, fast recovery and that we'll see him back up here in the booth in no time at all. That is, of course, what we want, but we're getting ready to put on this good race, Will. I know you're excited for it. I'm excited for it, and again, hope, Tim, maybe you're watching out there. Hope we can put on a good one for you. And while Chris Darling here getting ready to lead the field to the green flag iRacing pace car headed down pit road here to get us underway for 55 laps at Talladega. It's not the penultimate race, but it's like the race before the penultimate race. So definitely high stakes race here tonight at Talladega in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series as Chris Darling leads the field through that long front tri-oval toward the start-finish line, waiting for the green flag to go into the air. There it is, Chris Darling on the gas pedal, getting the race underway. Not a very good start, though, Will, for that inside lane. Well, there comes Martin Plute in the number 4, but Jeremy Richmond got a great start up on the outside lane. You saw Beer Street Journal on the tail of that car there, sporting another series sponsor on the back of that car. Love to see it from Jeremy Richmond. Meanwhile, Chris Darling, though, out to a strong start. Josh Sobel, also very good start on the inside lane up to third.
Big moves already in this race, Mitchell, as Chris Darling's leading them down into 3. Around 4 here, got Martin Pluth in the 4 machine right behind him, and the 56 kind of dragging off of that inside lane there. But you'll see it here at Talladega. That majority line, once they start to stack up a little bit, you'll start to see them pull away. As you're starting to see about a 4-car tandem already start to pull away a little bit on the inside lane there, as Chris Darling's going to lead the way here at lap 1.
Yep, solid first lap of the race for Chris Darling, but there comes Jeremy Richmond up on the outside lane, being pushed by the number 24 of Ben Mashburn there. Those two running 2-car tandem up on the high line. Nobody there really to help them, at least for the time being, as the field works down the back straightaway. They're going to be side by side into turns 3 and 4 this time. Jeremy Richmond, I think, actually had the nose out slightly in front of Chris Darling. We'll see what they can do as here comes, I believe that's the 95 of Singleton. Yes, it is there. Through turns 3 and 4, Isaac Singleton now coming up to help these 2 cars on the outside. Meanwhile, the drag race continues down the front straightaway, side by side. Chris Darling, Jeremy Richmond. It's going to be Richmond at the line leading lap 2, but this battle just getting started.
For sure, Mitchell, as we're watching Jeremy Richmond still on that outside lane there in the 98 machine, about door to door with Chris Darling now going down the backstretch. And Mitchell, do you think that outside lane is going to hold, seeing as though it's only a 3-car tandem out there?
Well, they seem to be doing a really good job, at least for the time being. You see the 98 of Richmond getting out clear now. You see him dropping down. Ooh, very close.
That was a big move.
Yeah, big move from Jeremy Richmond. Decides to stay up on the outside lane, but you see they lost all their momentum because of that. And Chris Darling back side by side, door to door with Jeremy Richmond. But somehow they picked up Josh Sobel back here in the number 56. You see the 93 of Stan Hausman is also right back here with them. Don't overlook as well, I believe it's the 74 of Jeff McCarter. All those drivers jumped up into the outside lane. So now we went from 3 cars to 6 cars, and I believe the lanes are even. I say that, and Jeff McCarter ducks back down into the inside lane back there, but at least for now, they're basically even, so I think that's going to sustain, hopefully, the momentum for that outside lane. But I think we saw the 56 get a little bit separated again. The 93 of Hausman also, they got kind of backed up, and that you can see the effects of that up here toward the front as Chris Darling surges ahead on the inside for now. But I think they've got more cars working up there, Will, and I think they're going to be able to hold in a lot stronger now than they would have been able to with just the 3 of them.
Oh yeah, Mitchell, as Chris Darling's going to lead them down into the corner, but we might have a change at the lead. They're drag racing here at Dega, Mitchell, to start off this race, and you see Martin Pluth really on the back bumper of Chris there, and from these broadcasts, I've learned from going on the back bumper there for too many laps, that really sends the oil temperature up in your machine. It really kind of drops down. You're using more fuel, more accelerating. Is that a wise move to start off this race, Mitchell, or do you want to kind of like give and take a little bit to start off this race?
I think as long as you're not being too aggressive, because there's a fine line between how close you get to that car in front of you, and it's a game of inches here on the plate tracks that we run here in this series as we ride on board with Martin Plute. You saw him give a little shot to Chris Starling, but early on he can kind of lay back and not be right up on the bumper of Chris Starling and not physically pushing him like we kind of associate with these tracks. And he's still going to give Chris Starling a push with the air to keep the momentum going. It's not as much as if he were all the way onto his bumper physically pushing him down the straightaway, but it gives him something and it keeps that temperature down a little bit. But definitely if you get aggressive with the pushing, which you kind of see Ben Mashburn here in the 24 has to do to keep that 98 of Jeremy Richmond up toward the front with so few cars, eventually that 24 is probably going to start getting hot, and we kind of see that outside lane losing some steam right now. And if that temp continues to go up and you see the red on your dash that indicates that your temperature is getting a little bit high, you definitely have to back out, and that can really kill momentum.
You do not want to see your momentum killed here at Dega, because you can lose a lot of track position here. But Mitchell, we are going door to door on the backstretch again. Looks like they're just drag racing here at Dega.
Yeah, the 98 of Jeremy Richmond getting a great push from Ben Mashburn down the back straightaway, side by side through turns 3 and 4. But Martin Plute is doing a great job there on the inside, keeping Chris Starling out front. See the 3 cars up top have broken away from Stan Hausman there in the number 93. They're a little bit further back. Him and Isaac Singleton doing their drafting back there. But Jeremy Richmond with the surge of momentum through the tri-oval. He's going to get up into the race lead. Will he dive down? No. Thought about it. Not quite clear, I don't think, as Chris Darling comes surging right back up. But what that did, him almost coming down, you saw the 11 and the 4 get separated, at least for just a moment. They're back together already, but that is going to help the high line just a little bit. As Richmond, you see well clear. Ben Mashburn almost clear.
There it is. There it is. I'll go back. Oh, man. See, Mitchell, what I've learned in life is that you don't just dip your toes in cold water. You jump right into the pool. And with Jeremy testing out that cold water a few times there, it's cost him a lot of speed. You're almost wanting him to drop down in front of Chris, but every time that he kind of gets into that danger zone, that middle lane, it has to come back up high side. He just loses a lot of positions there. When do you think is the right time for him to go ahead and just slam the door and slam that back bumper right in front of Chris and just lead that pack?
Well, personally, I'd have said it was right there, but obviously Jeremy Richmond doesn't think so, as you see the 71 of Brianna 11 heading back toward the back, deciding they're getting a little bit too dicey up front for her taste right now. But I'd have said if I was Jeremy Richmond, I'd have stuck there on the inside lane. But, I mean, he's the driver out there and I'm not. Obviously, he knows something I don't. But I think when you do that, you're just kind of killing the momentum of the outside lane, is what we've seen happen those last couple times he's done that. Is he goes down, but Darling gets a little bit of draft, starts closing back up, then he goes back up, and Mashburn in the number 24 has to check up to not run him over, and it's really doing the outside lane no good, especially with him staying up there. So I think if he can get down there, I think at least for now you want to hold that inside lane, simply because I think it's too early to be aggressively blocking both lanes. And I mean, that's just my opinion. Obviously, I'm a pretty relaxed speedway racer, though, and we'll see what Jeremy Richmond does here, as he is clear of the number 11 of Chris Darling, gonna stay up in that higher lane. And you see the momentum from Darling, and that shorter route along the racetrack on the inside really came into play there. But Jeremy Richmond still with the nose down the straightaway, but Also, you have to think, Will, if you're Ben Mashburn, you're behind the 98 and you keep getting checked up like that, you got to get a little tired of that at some point. So I'm watching the 24 to maybe try and make a move, shuffle Jeremy Richmond out of this pack.
Definitely. And once those two tandem up, I like to say they're the two best friends that anyone can have. As you see, Chris Darling's pulling away from the pack here. Maybe just felt like things were getting a little bit too hairy for him at the top, but that's going to make way for Martin Pluth to kind of pull away. But as you see, as Mitchell, as you were just talking about, Ben Mashburn goes to the inside. He is trying to make a move on Jeremy Richmond in that 98 machine, but Jeremy Richmond is now our new leader on the track, ladies and gentlemen, in that 98 machine where we were just talking about when would be the right move for him. It looks like Chris went ahead and opened that door for him.
Yeah, Chris Darling decided he didn't want to be up front, at least for the time being, and that's pretty much single-filed out the pack for the most part. You see the 56 of Josh Sobel, the 93 of Stan Hausman. I think we've mentioned them quite a bit as kind of being a little bit of the outliers here in the draft. Here comes Isaac Singleton. These three have kind of worked together in the early stages of this race. I've noticed there's the 3 of Jason Shu, your points leader, coming into tonight. Of course, with Nate Maurer not here, he was 5 points behind Jason Shu coming into the race. So that'll probably put Chris Darling up into the second place points, possibly over Josh Sobel, unless something happens, because he was 24 points back from Sobel coming into tonight. So if Darling has a good run, which we see as a fast car, he could take the second place points position and really secure himself a good spot. Martin Pluth also right there in the points behind Darling, and Stan Hausman also not too far back. And then we have a couple drivers who aren't here making up the position behind them. So late in the season, we're going to start to see those players emerge in the season. Chris Darling, Jason Shu, Stan Hausman, all those drivers here tonight looking to put themselves in a good position and really avoid the chaos, which is the hope for all these drivers. You see there the number 3, who is your points leader right now, but the battle for the lead heating up again, as that is the 56 of Josh Sobel there in the high line with the push from Isaac Singleton. There's the 71 of Brianna Lavin. She's back up there. Saw her drop back not too long ago, up there battling for the lead, but good run side by side into turn 1 for the leaders.
Very good run, Mitchell. And I want to remind our viewers here tonight that nobody has yet to pick up multiple wins on the season. We've had 9 different winners here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series. So I just want to run the viewers through who has picked up a win here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series, and that's Jason Shu, our points leader, as you were mentioning. Mitchell has 1 win on the season with 9 starts. Nathan Maurer, who is out of tonight's action, has one win and 9 starts. Martin Pluth, who is in that 4 machine, cruising in that top pack there, he has a win on the season in 8 starts. Doug Neal, of course, won last week, put that Simbox racing machine in victory lane. Garrett Gleason has a win on the season as well. JT Poole picked up a win. Stephen Ford also picked up a win. And dropping down into the table a little bit, Mitchell, we're looking at Chris Brown, who was a newcomer into the series, ran a couple races with us, picked up a win. And also Jason Gracias is a winner on the season. So 9 different winners, Mitchell. We were talking at the beginning of this broadcast, if anybody can pick up that second win on the season, standings with only 2 races to go.
Yeah, and you saw it there while you were talking about that. We also have, I want to Fade9 in the chat asking how to join the league. That's I'll answer that really quickly. If you want to head over to Facebook, and I'll try to link it up, or Will, you can do that. Facebook, I believe they are at NSRA League on Facebook. You can find all the information on them there. And they are actively recruiting right now. You can check them out. I will go drop the link in chat for you so you can get that done and talk with them about that. But as I was saying right before that, the number 4 of Martin Pluth, you had just talked about him, winner on the season. He dropped out of the pack, and that left the door open for the 56 of Josh Sobel to go grab the race lead. And of course the field working around this lap car of Mike Floppy Tellier in the number 97. I don't believe Tellier made it to the grid, and that is why he is not up there on the lead lap at the moment. But 3 wide through the front tri-oval, the field kind of shuffling around here. A lot of action, Will.
Oh yeah, a lot of action indeed, Mitchell. And you'll see that at a track like this. You'll see everybody start to fade out, bunch up a little bit. I like to say this is, I like my sayings, Mitchell, and I like to say that inside lane, once they start really stacking up and they start really working as a crew, if you will, it almost reminds me, I know you might be a little bit too young to remember this, but the old Nokia cell phones had a game on it called Snake. And how Snake was played is that you would start out as a little tiny line, and as you went around and picked up more things and made your line bigger, the game picked up. So the speed picked up in the game and everything, and the game went faster and faster and faster until eventually you crashed into yourself and the game ended. But I like to use that analogy here in iRacing because as you see more and more cars stack up into that tandem, you start seeing that line move faster and faster and faster, and it starts to pull away from that outside lane. And it's really a game of catch-up on that outside lane to pick up that lead pack. As you're seeing, there's about a 4-car gap in between that bottom side and that top side right now.
Yeah, you see the 95 of Isaac Singleton also dropping out of the pack now. And that is definitely true. The more cars you have in the pack and the more cars you have working together, the faster they go, and they're well up around possibly over 200 miles an hour. iRacing doesn't let us see that information anymore, which is kind of disappointing. It's really fun to see, especially from the broadcast perspective, how fast these are. I do believe we can actually see how fast they're going. I might get a check of that. I think I have a little box here. No, I don't have the box. That's a shame. But I know from experience they're up at 200 miles an hour right now. And as you get cars dropping out of the field, like you see the 56 of Josh Sobel now going to the back, that takes away the momentum, drops the speed. But then these drivers get formed back up, and the speed goes right back up to about max speed. Speaking of being formed up, that is exactly what the outside lane is right now, being led by the number 71 of Brianna Lavin there. She is being pushed by the number 93 Beer Street Journal machine of Stan Hausman. Gotta mention that the NSRA Beer Street Journal Grand National Series is only 2 weeks away from starting up as well. So as we approach the end of our season here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series, there is another series about to boot up. You can check them out again on Facebook for information on the Beer Street Journal Grand National Series. Meanwhile, 3 wide for the race lead here. It's Chris Darling shuffled out. The number 98 of Jeremy Richmond. The 71 and 93 stay hooked up together there on the outside lane. Into turn 3 is the 71, leaving the 93 of Stan Hausman behind. Brianna Lavin up to the point for the first time here tonight over Chris Darling, who's right back up at the front. Your pole sitter here tonight. But a great run from Jeremy Richmond on the outside, pushed by Ben Mashburn. I think Richmond is going to steal the race, or the lead of this lap, away from the 71 of Lavin.
Gosh, and Jeremy is picking up where he left off last week at Monza. There was no jet lag for him coming across the pond there from Italy. And boy, he has picked up where he left off there at Monza, Mitchell, and he is racing door to door. Ooh, big move to throw the block on the outside lane there. Kind of got Jeremy a little shook there as he whipped his car back out to the outside lane to make that pass on the outside. Now we're 3 wide going down into the corner, and this is never good at Dega. We'll see how this plays out coming around. We're still 3 wide on 4. It's going to be Chris Darling leading the way there around the corner. Jeremy Richmond has not given up that second spot, though. He is door to door. He might actually lead this lap, Mitchell. It is Jeremy Richmond that's going to lead that lap. We're 22 laps in here at the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series. This is featuring the National Sim Racing Association drivers. This is week 10 here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series. And boy, we are keeping an eye out on Jeremy Richmond. But boy, Mitchell, he has some junkyard dogs, if you will, right near him. He has got Chris Darling and Ben Mashburn right there. He's got Chris Darling on the inside of him, on the inside lane, and Ben Mashburn right behind him. So definitely a lot of speed, a hornet's nest, if you will, of speed right behind Jeremy Richmond.
And here's the number 25 of Randy Perdue, who we haven't talked much about tonight. He's found his way up second car on the inside lane. I do want to apologize to Fade9 in the chat. I tried to send the link, and it wouldn't let me, I guess. And then I tried to put the username for it out in the chat, and it's also not letting me do that. So YouTube's playing a little games with me, but it's at NSRA League is the username on Facebook. You can check it out there. I apologize for YouTube not cooperating with me like I'd hoped it to, but there is the information there, and anyone else interested, although there is some little bit of excitement going on back here in the field. I don't know exactly where that was. I thought I heard some contact somewhere. Saw the 71 go down into the inside lane now. You see Maurer Racing, Nate Maurer out in the chat saying he can't have Darling or Shu win here tonight. And that is the case. Nate Maurer, of course, came into tonight second in points, but unfortunately unable to race. Glad you're here watching with us, Nate, though. I hate to tell you, but Chris Darling's been looking awfully fast there in that Taz Racing Customs number 11. You see him actually challenging Jeremy Richmond for the lead, getting pushed by Martin Plute right now. The number 3 of Jason Shoes kind of had a quieter night, laying back in the pack, hoping to come on strong there toward the end. Battle for the lead, though, is side-by-side drag race once again between Jeremy Richmond and Chris Darling. Martin Plute and Ben Mashburn once again pushing the same drivers they were earlier in the race. I'm keeping my eye on this 25 of Randy Perdue, though, Will. Haven't talked about him much tonight. Slowly worked his way up here toward the front, and definitely a driver to keep our eye on.
For sure, Mitchell, and keep an eye on for his driving skills and also that throwback paint scheme he's got rocking here tonight. That Dale Earnhardt, that black with the little red pinstripe down the side. Gotta appreciate that little throwback paint scheme there, keeping it simple with the yellow black with the red pinstripe. But I believe he might be a new driver in this series, Mitchell. I know a few people have jumped in to race with us here the last couple races of the season. But boy, he is making himself known here tonight, just like Jeremy Richmond did last week at Monza. And uh-oh, looks like Chris Darling has taken over that lead. He thought about it, Mitchell. He dipped his toes in the water.
He kind of did the same thing Jeremy Richmond was doing earlier. Got up into the front. I know that was definitely close. Chris might have just thought a little bit better of that move, as there goes Ben Mashburn. Ben Mashburn up into the high line. But yeah, that seems to be what the leaders are doing. They get out almost clear, if not clear. That one was hard to tell. Out in front, jump down to the inside lane, then go right back up. And it kind of stalls it out. I'm sure, I know Chris Darling, he probably wasn't clear, wanted to go up with the high line. I know he definitely, same with Jeremy Richmond, experienced plate racers, they don't do it for no reason. So there's definitely a strategy in what they're doing. You saw the 71 jump down to the inside lane, but Ben Mashburn is now leading the inside lane. He had gone up toward the top, got out in front of the 98 of Jeremy Richmond. Now that all-white number 24 of Ben Mashburn looking to take the race lead from Chris Darling, but I don't think it's going to happen this lap, as Darling and Plute working very well together up on the high side.
And Mitchell, I think it might be time to cue up the little Wayne, because it is getting fire man up here at the top. It is getting hot and heavy with Ben Mashburn and Chris Darling now leading this pack here. And boy, does that not spell well for the rest of this field here, as once those tandem gets to the 1-2 position, they tend to pull away the rest of this race here. Boy, they just put the rest of the field here under a lot of pressure here. 27 laps in here at the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series, live from Talladega, brought to you by 10-4 Broadcasting. It is Chris Darling now leading this race around 3 and 4. Heading to the, I think this is the front stretch here. Yep, heading to the front stretch here. And Mitchell, for any other drivers here, you're starting to count the laps, you're starting to see the laps tick down here. What kind of strategy do you think, as a driver, do you want to start implementing here with only about 25 laps to go here? when do you want to start like finding your partners, start finding your draft, start finding your lines, if you will?
Well, I think right now you're finding who you're working with. Of course, these drivers have been racing with each other throughout the whole season. Most of them have been here quite a bit. So if you've been racing the season like your Chris Darling, Ben Meshburn, all these drivers, Martin Plute, Jason Chu, all the drivers who've been here for most of the season, you kind of know already going in who are the drivers you can work with, whose style matches yours. Is green flag pit stops going to interrupt us there? Drivers headed down pit road here for green flag pit stops. I think we saw everybody coming in here, I do believe. As I was wondering, we're at the halfway point, so I think they should be good on fuel to the end if they could make it to halfway here. We'll have to wait and see, but if you're a newer driver, like the 71 of Brian Eleven there, you don't know coming in who you can work with because you're fresh to the series. So it's just a challenge, and you've got to race with these guys through the whole race to kind of see, all right, who drafts the way I like to, who's going to push me or who's going to leave me for somebody else. And you kind of get that feel just as the race goes on, as you see the field now leaving pit road. But it can be a challenge sometimes, and sometimes you give somebody a push just kind of in the wrong way they don't like, and that can maybe make someone not want to work with you later in the race. So it's just a challenge. You've got to... Oh, it's Chris Darling. Almost lost it coming out of pit lane. Manages to hang on to it, though. Good save by Darling there in that number 11. Trying to see who cycled out as your race leader. The 97 is a lap down, but it is the number 25 of Randy Perdue who's going to inherit the race lead through the first wave of green flag pit stops. I said we got to keep an eye on him there in the number 25. Randy Perdue gotten his way up into the race lead now. Doing a great job out there in that number 25. The 97 of Mike Floppy Tellier is one lap down. So he is out there trying to race, hopefully get his lap back. If we get a caution, he is the only car currently one lap down. It might not be that way forever, though, as Jeremy Richmond lost the pack through that wave of green flag pit stops. Jeremy Richmond in danger of going one lap down here. I'll pull up the track map so you can see exactly where he is. He is going through the front tri-oval now. The leaders are there just coming through turn 4. So hopefully for Jeremy Richmond, he is going to be able to get it gathered back up. Hopefully, probably, I think Will's going to need a caution here. So really unfortunate for a driver who's shown so much speed in the last couple weeks.
And man, this is, this is the series of unfortunate events here, the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series. You might think that you have it. It almost reminds me of that commercial where it's the guy fishing and they say, oh, you almost got it. You almost got it. I feel that way for a lot of these drivers here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series. They think they have it. They think they're running the right race. They're thinking they're running the right lines, and then just unfortunate events play out. And you'll see it probably here tonight, as you just see Jeremy Richmond is now all the way down to 11th position now and leading this race. So you'll see it, but that just opens the door for more chaos and more calamity to happen here in Talladega.
Yeah, and also some drivers who fell out of the lead pack. They are still grouped up, so they are getting some draft. They're about 6 seconds behind this lead pack, led by Josh Sobel in the number 56, Isaac Singleton in the 95, and of course Stan Hausman in that Beer Street Journal machine. They find themselves out of the lead pack, which is now down to 5 cars. You see Martin Plute tailing that up. Chris Darling there has got a little bit of action going on actually toward the front here. There comes the 71 of Brian 11 there. She led that last time around. Now Ben Mashburn up on the high line with Mike Floppy Tellier there trying to make it happen. Only 2 cars. The 25 of Randy Perdue there lost the lead somewhere in there, and you see drag race down the front straightaway for these two. side by side coming to the line. I think it's the 24 of Mashburn who has the advantage this time around, but anybody's game.
Boy, Mitchell, these rookies are showing out here tonight. I know Brianna actually just got her number for tonight's action, so believe it or not, that number was just slapped on the side of that race machine, and she's got that thing out in the lead, and they seem to be pulling away from the rest of the field here. And I believe Purdue is also a rookie in tonight's field, or maybe just a guy who ran under the radar at Monza last week, but boy, they're starting to pull away with that 1-2 tandem.
Yeah, solid 1-2 running right now for the 71 of Lavin and the number 25 of Randy Purdue. Ben Mashburn going to slot in to get hooked up with his teammate, Chris Darling, in the number 11. And then Martin Plute and Mike Tellier are also running 5th and 6th in this pack. And, I mean, what do you do if you're Mike Tellier right now in the number 97, Will? The race has gone green, 33 laps. We're in the later stages of the race, getting there past the halfway point. And do you race these guys hoping to get up there in front in case a caution comes out, or you just kind of sit here and if the caution comes out, I'll take the lucky dog? But there might be a fight for a lucky dog and not too long, as here is the number 98 of Jeremy Richmond, not too far now from this lead pack. So watch Jeremy Richmond. We'll pull up the track map here. He is going through the tri-oval right now, and so are the leaders, so not too much longer. Mike Floppy Tellier is going to have a little battle on his hands for that lucky dog position from the number 98.
Mitchell, if I was him, I would go ahead and stick right in that backpack there. I know it's not the best place to be, but like you said, he's in the prime position for that lucky dog. I've been in this position before, not in iRacing per se, but I know I go a little bit back playing the NASCAR Heat Games, NASCAR Thunder, where you might think you're out of the race or your day might be over, but boy, if you can just stick in that prime position right there, we've seen it here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series. Anything can happen. You know, leaders can crash out. We have yet to have a caution. I just wanted to say that with a pause just in case one came out. I gave it the commentator curse there. As you're seeing a battle for the lead now. Nope. Let's see. 3 wide. See, he's going to pull out there. Looks like Purdue's going to lead a lap here at Dega. Boy, we've had some lead changes already, Mitchell.
Yep. The pack caught up to the 98 of Jeremy Richmond. Brianna went up to the middle lane to try and get around him, and Randy Purdue said, no, I don't think so. I want the race lead. Shot down to the inside of the 71. Of course, there's the 71 of Brianna Lavin right back at it, up in the higher lane with Mike Floppy Tellier behind her, trying to push her up to the race lead. 2-car tandem, though. Well, versus 3 cars, it's not too bad a pairing. You're 1 car down, but really it's not too much of a disadvantage when there's only 3 cars, because you see the 11 of Darling and the 24 of Mashburn got separated a little bit from this lead pack. Do want to highlight, though, this second pack with Josh Sobel, Isaac Singleton, and Stan Hausman has run these leaders down by about 2 seconds since the last time we checked on them. They're now just over 4 seconds behind the lead pack, so keep your eye on those drivers. They are trying to make it happen, but they've got to get something going pretty quickly here if they want to get caught up. And in this race, you see them there just rounding turn 2, so that I know it looks pretty close from this perspective, but when you are a driver out there, that feels so far away from the lead pack. As we can actually go on board, we have a camera on board the number 56 of Josh Sobel. You see nobody out the windshield there. Through the corner, we hit the straightaway, and off in the distance there are the leaders. You can barely see them as dots going through the tri-oval there, so it looks close when you are up in well, from where we're sitting in the booth. It doesn't look super far away, as you know, they're just exiting the turn. We'll try and get that same camera angle here actually for you all. You're gonna see them again just coming out of turn 2 when this field is working their way down the back straightaway, but it really is so far away on track. As Randy Purdue back up into the race lead while I was having a little bit of fun on the onboard camera with Josh Sobel. Randy Purdue now back to the race lead over the 71 of Brianna Lavin. The 98 of Jeremy Richmond hanging in there. The two lappers will. The 98 of Richmond, 97 of Tellier. They're doing all the pushing here.
Hey, that's a way to use those lapped cars, Mitchell. And I was going to ask you, if you're Joshua Sobel, when do you start yelling out, Wilson, Wilson? Because you start seeing the little volleyball starting to drift further and further away as this race is going on. When do you start panicking? When do you start feeling like, oh man, this race may not be my night?
Well, actually, again, since the last time I told you their time, they have crept in another second. They're now just over 3 seconds behind this lead pack. So I think if you're them, I'm definitely worried because I'm 3 seconds back on a speedway, but it's not the worst situation in the world, I guess, because you seem fast. I don't want to jinx them, but they're doing a very good job catching up to the lead pack, actually doing it by a couple tenths through 3 and 4 there. So I mean, if you're them, just keep the pedal to the metal and hope that the momentum keeps going your way. But you see this lead pack now get single filed, not what you want to see if you were those 3 cars back there, because they're not going to be racing side by side, not side drafting off of each other, and that's going to make it more difficult to keep the momentum advantage going your way. They did lose some time there very quickly, so we'll just have to keep an eye on that as the race goes on.
As you see, a big move from Martin Pluth on the backstretch here. He is trying to go for that lead, take it over from Purdue in that 25, but it's going to be Purdue leading him down into the corner here of 3. Martin Pluth has found a buddy on that outside with Chris Darling's right on his back bumper. Hopefully going to give him a little push there towards the lead, and looks like we're going to have a drag race to the start-finish line.
Yeah, Martin Pluth there trying to make it happen on the outside lane. 4 cars on the outside lane. You have the 3 drivers I think really work well together. Is the 4 of Martin Pluth, the 11 of Chris Darling, and the 24 of Ben Mashburn. I believe they're all teammates at Max Grafix Racing, and they always seem to work well together, be able to find each other on track. And you have the 71 of Brianna Lavin, the newcomer to the series here today, up there as well, working with those guys to get the race lead there. As you see, I believe the 11 and 4 both cleared there. They're going to stay up in the higher lane, though. Is the 25 of Randy Purdue and the 98 of Jeremy Richmond, not giving it up there down on the inside lane, but they're definitely having a difficult time. As I say that, though, a great run as the 71 also ducks down, not the 74. The 71 ducked down to help them. And I believe the 97 of Mike Floppy Tellier also went down briefly, gave him a push. And look who's here, Will. It's not yelling Wilson anymore. There is Josh Sobel, Isaac Singleton, and the number 93, I believe, is also here. There he is, Stan Houseman. They caught up. There we go. Everybody's happy except for the drivers who find themselves 1 lap down. Your points leader actually coming into tonight, Jason Shu, has lost the draft as well. I don't think I mentioned that, so I didn't notice. Jason Shu out of the draft. Same with that 74 of Jeff McCarter. Those two still have no buddies out there on the track for the time being. But up here up front, Martin Pluth now still holding on to the race lead in the high line. Chris Darling and him going to drop down to the inside lane. That turns the high line over to the 71 of Lavin there. Getting help from the 97 of Mike Floppy Tellier on the outside. I don't believe it. Well, there comes the 56 of Josh Sobel and the 95 of Singleton. Those two, I mean, Will, you drafted up to the pack together. Sobel and Singleton, you think they're going to work together here toward the end of this race? I have to say, I certainly think they're probably going to be working together. As you see the 93 Bear Street Journal machine of Stan Houseman also trying to get up there.
Yeah, Mitch, I really think that you'll see teamwork starting to play out here a little bit towards the end of this race, but once that white flag drops, that's basically where that teamwork goes out the window, because you want to rack up those wins here towards the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely the case, as the 71 led that lap, but lost some momentum here in the 97. Gonna shuffle out the 71 of Brianna Lavin there. The 97 of Mike Floppy Tellier. Remember, he is 1 lap down currently. He goes up into that third groove with the help of Josh Sobel. The 71 ducks down to the inside lane. That is going to simplify things a little bit for us from what they were. We were 3 wide briefly. I think we're going to go 3 wide again. No, I was wrong. They just kind of went down into the middle of the line. But now the outside lane being led by car 1 lap down. That is the 97 of Mike Floppy Tellier. Remember, the 98 of Jeremy Richmond on the inside lane also finds himself 1 lap down. But side by side up front, here comes the 97. He has his nose up front. The 56 of Josh Sobel. He is racing for the lead right now. It's the 56 of Sobel. He's going to nose out front down the back straightaway, bringing the 95 of Singleton with him. Those drivers are for position here, and they are going to fade down into turn 3, and Josh Sobel going to inherit the race lead. Mike Tellier, at least for the time being, on the lead lap as he currently leads the lead pack.
Big racing, Mitchell, and with less than 10 laps to go here now in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series, live from Talladega, you'll see if Martin Pluth wants to get that second win on the season before he has some competition to pick up that second win there at that lead pack, as you see a lap car now leading the pack here around the track. But it's Joshua Sobel, who's a veteran here at the National Sim Racing Association, not very a vet here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series, has really shown out here in the past couple weeks, really shown his driver's skill, and has got his car now in the lead.
Yeah, and you see the 74 of Jeff McCarter now going a lap down to the field. That'll probably get him settled in this pack, as you saw the 98 got a little bit squirrely there through the turn. That leaves Jason Chu, the only car now without a friend here, is I believe the 74 of McCarter's going to be able to catch the tail end of this draft, and we have 11 of the 12 cars here in the field currently. Back here's contact. Very close to an incident there. I don't know exactly what happened, but I believe that high line, the 95, 98, they got a little bit tight there with those cars on the inside lane. Near wreck, you saw some guys get a little bit squirrely, but they keep it going straight. This 97 jumps up into the outside lane. I'm a little bit surprised with how well that inside lane seems to be doing right now. It's a 71, an aggressive dive there down to the inside lane. You saw it just in the corner of your camera. That turns the lead of the pack over to the 56 of Josh Sobel. I think Sobel will gladly inherit the lead. As you see just in the distance is the 3 of Jason Chu. He's hoping for a caution before the field gets there, and as we get down to it, less than 10 laps to go. In fact, 7 laps to go, I believe, that time by. I mean, the aggression level, it's been more relaxed than I expected it to be. But coming down into the closing stages of the race, the aggression definitely going to pick up. And I think we see that here as they were almost 3 wide, a little bit further back. Ben Mashburn thought about sending it up the middle lane, but side by side for the race lead in the closing stages now.
Yeah, Mitchell, when do you start getting a little bit more anxious? When do you start trying to make those moves, knowing that with less than 10 laps to go, that you got some really fast cars at the top of that lead pack? I see Josh Sobel really leading this field here. But look at Martin Pluth on the outside lane there, and boy, does he have a partner to work with. As you see, Chris Darling's now going to the inside, and Martin Pluth slings down to drop that position there. Remember, less than 6 laps to go here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series, live from Talladega. And boy, Mitchell, Martin Pluth is racing like he wants that second win of the season.
Yeah, Martin Pluth and Chris Darling, both with aggressive dives there down to the inside lane. And they're going to end up side by side, or not side by side, excuse me, bumper to bumper here. Headed into 3, you saw Jeremy Richmond, though, get very squirrely. Or maybe it was Mike Tellier, I'm not quite sure. It was one of those two kind of blue or green cars. Got very squirrely into turn 3. A lot of pushing. Isaac Singleton up there in the 95, squeezed in between 2 cars who are 1 lap down. So Singleton, I guess, not in the ideal position as he almost got shuffled out by the 98 of Richmond. Going to hang in there for now, but Martin Pluth and Chris Darling work very well together, and they are up leading the pack. I can't expect them to work too nicely for much longer as you see the 97 move out of the way. I assume of the 95 of Singleton. Very courteous move out of the 97 if that was the case.
And boy, Mitchell, Martin Pluth is trying to be like Nelly out here. He's trying to get 2 pair of wins on the season here. As you see, Martin Pluth is now leading them down into 3 around 4. We're going to have less than 5 laps to go here, Mitchell. And boy, the heat is starting to turn up. I'm getting a little sweaty behind the microphone here because there's a lot of speed behind Martin Pluth. You got Chris Darling and Josh Sobel who both want to get that first win of the season here, especially Chris Darling in that 11 machine. But boy, Martin Pluth's going to lead them around to the line here with less than 4 laps to go.
Yeah, Martin Pluth, I believe 4 or 5, my middle math. It's never quite right. The ticker doesn't switch over, unfortunately, to laps to go. That's something I would love to get working if they ever decide to do that with the ticker I license this from. But the 98 of Richmond, he's a lap down. He's not afraid to go race up there. He currently leads the outside lane, getting pushed from Singleton, who I have to imagine is a pretty good pusher after, I believe, pushing that second pack back up into the lead pack here. But it is Martin Pluth there kind of controlling the race on the inside. And if you are Martin Pluth, you do have to love having the lap car lead the outside lane. Kind of serves as a buffer back to the cars you are racing. And got to remember what Nate Maurer said in the chat, you can't have Darling or Shu win. Jason Shu is here, but he is 1 lap down. Not really in contention unless we get a caution, but Chris Darling definitely is there. I expect him to be pretty aggressive because, like we said, Will, he needs to get some points here with 4 laps to go in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series. Only 2 races left after this one, so the scramble for points is very real. Ben Mashburn 3 wide.
Ben Mashburn's at, Mitchell. He's right in that danger zone lane. Boy, he is not in a good position right there. He's got a blocker right in front of him. He's trying to link up with Chris Darling here. We're going to cross the line with us and 3 laps to go here at the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series live from Talladega. Brought to you by 10-4 Broadcasting. And it's going to be a door-to-door race at the line here between Chris Darling and Martin Pluth. Coming down into 1, we'll see if Chris Darling wants to drop that back bumper right in front of Martin Pluth in that 4 machine. But boy, Mitchell, we're in for a last couple of laps here. We'll see who wants to get that first win of the season. Or like I said, if Martin Pluth wants to have 2 pairs of wins on the season here, and he is racing like he wants to do so. But you see Chris Darling build up a lot of speed on that outside. Oh, no, we have action. Oh, no, between Chris Darling and Martin Pluth, the 2 leaders on the track. That should bring out our first caution of the race here, but it has not been thrown yet, Mitchell.
Yeah, we stay green at least for the time being. No caution yet. Chris Darling, there is the caution flag.
Wow.
Finally coming out. Late stages of the race. Martin Pluth, Chris Darling, wreck from 1-2. Martin Pluth's car destroyed on the front end. Same for Chris Darling. We're going to have to take a look at that, Will. Big implications there.
Wow. Rev up that 10-4 Broadcasting replay for us here, Mitchell. And boy, there is going to be some helmets thrown at the end of this race. I tell you what, because those boys really wanted that win here, especially Martin Pluth and Chris Darling, who has no wins on the season. But we'll see exactly what happened there, Mitchell.
Yep, you're going to see it here. Coming down the back straightaway, Chris Darling gets a little squirrely. I think maybe a bad push from the 98 of Richmond. And they went down into the infield wall. I think we're going to have to ride on board the 98. I want to see if the push possibly he gave to the 11 of Chris Darling is what got him squirrely in the first place, riding on board with the 98 of Jeremy Richmond down the back straightaway. That was close. That was very close. I think we gotta humor me, folks, with one more camera view of this one.
Maybe if we could take a look at the in-car camera view of Martin Pluth and see if Chris may have just tried to throw in a block there and just wasn't clear on that inside lane. That's what it kind of looked like to me, Mitchell. We've seen those blocks happen all race long, especially on that backstretch. You see drivers bounce from the kind of slide to the left, slide to the right a little bit. But you'll see here if Chris does intend to make a block, he just doesn't know what Martin is on the track. Yeah, that's what it looks like to me there, Mitchell.
I think I want to look at it. I think I might have to disagree with it. It's kind of up to your interpretation, but I feel like Chris Darling, we haven't gotten a good angle at it. This is going to be a good angle. I think he got squirrely down the back straightaway. You see the 98 on the corner panel, gets into Chris, got him loose. Chris tried to gather up the car, but I don't really think Chris was in much control of that number 11 there. I think that's what we would call classic Talladega, trying to push a car with 2 laps to go. A little bit too much of a push from the 98. Contact, and there is the first caution of the day, which it took a long time for it to come out. We're going to get one of those Beer Street Journal last calls, which I don't think we mentioned, but Beer Street Journal sponsors not overtime here in the National Sim Racing Association, but it is the last call, the Beer Street Journal last call. I believe we get 2 attempts at them, if I'm correct off the top of my head, which I very well might not be, Will. But, I mean, coming down to the end, I mean, who are you looking at?
Well, I'm definitely looking at Stan Hausman in that Beer Street Journal machine in that 39, because they are one of our sponsors here in tonight's event. And I do want to give a special shout out to the rest of our sponsors here, especially Max Grafix, who is the title sponsor here in the Superspeedway Series. Do want to give a special shout out to Taz Racing Customs. You saw it on the side of that of Chris Darling's machine there. Give a special shout out to Brookstone Animal Hospital as well, one of our sponsors here in this series. I believe I might be forgetting just one sponsor there, Mitchell, if I'm not mistaken. Brookstone Animal Hospital, Beer Street Journal, Max Graphics. I think that might do us good. And Taz Racing Customs, I mentioned that as well. But who am I keeping an eye out for here tonight? In the last closing stages, I know Chris kind of came away from that accident a little unscathed, but boy, I got to keep my eye on that 56 machine of Josh Schobel. Really has run up in that high side all race long, so you see if he'll race that high side to start this restart out, and you see if he wants to cut inside, as we've seen so far, as you just saw with Chris there. But that's the machine I'm looking out for, Mitchell. How about you?
Well, I think Sobel definitely strong, especially late here in the race. You saw them catch back up to the lead pack. A lot of speed in that 56 for sure. I'm looking at the 25 of Randy Perdue out there leading the race too. I think he's kind of had a silent night. We saw him get up into the lead just a little bit. His pace car lights have gone off, and we're going green this time. I'm watching the 25, but I am really watching the 71 as well of Brianna Lavin. First start in the National Sim Racing Association. Max Grafix Superspeedway Series running 3rd for the final restart. She's had a strong car all night. I'm watching that number 71. I don't want to commentators curse it, but I think she might be my pick for this race.
Yeah, boy, she has come to see what she has in store for these boys next season. Because I know this season's coming to an end here, and keep an eye on the end of season points here. I think a lot of those guys, Martin Pluth is now back up into the mix here. Mitchell, even though he scraped that inside wall, I think he might have used that fast repair to get that thing back here racing. And we're in for a shootout here. We're going to have that, like you said, that Beer Street Journal last call. Once that white flag drops, that is the end. That is the end game, if you will, for these drivers. And boy, there's a lot of things to be had here at the top. You'll see if Ben Mashburn wants to pick up that first win of the season in that 24 Max Graphics machine there. But you also want to see if any of these rookies up in the field. I know Joshua Sobel is not a rookie here in the National Sim Racing Association, but I think he's only ran about 3 or 4 races here with us. You see if he wants to pick up a victory on the season. But then we have 2 rookies up at the top of the pack there, Mitchell, with Perdue and Lavin.
I do recognize Randy Perdue's name, so I don't think he is quite a rookie per se. I'm not positive about that. It might be one of his first starts of the season, because I haven't seen him, but I do recognize the name, so I'm not quite sure about that. But I know that Brianna, this is her first race, so iRacing pace car headed down pit road, putting the field in the hands of the 25 of Randy Perdue. 2-lap shootout here in the Beer Street Journal last call. You see the field jockeying for position, waiting.
Let's go green, 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 green.
Waiting for the 25 to put the pedal to the metal. Here is, they definitely made some contact. Everybody keeps it straight though. But definitely a little bit of contact. Everyone trying to get as close to each other as they can. Look at Martin Plute, Will, up the inside.
Big move. Big move on that inside lane there. Martin Pluth is going. He wants that 2 pairs of wins on the season here. He's right on the back bumper of Sobel and that 56 machine. But it's going to be Sobel leading the way here down the backstretch. But Martin Pluth is digging and dagging at that back bumper. He wants to make that pass. And boy, he just slid out to that outside lane with Ben Mashburn right on the outside. Looks like Joshua Sobel is going to need some help on the inside lane there. And here it comes. A little bit faster than those rescue boats to the Titanic, but it is Martin Pluth leading the way here now with Ben Mashburn right behind him. And Mitchell, boy, it would be wise for him to drop right in front of that 56 machine, but it's going to be Martin Pluth going to be taking the white flag here, the Beer Street Journal, last call here at Talladega.
The help has gone away for Josh Sobel on the inside lane, taking the white flag. This next flag will end the race. As you see Chris Darling up the inside, trying to find some speed. There's Mike Floppy Tellier, who is now back on the lead lap, worth noting. Martin Pluth, though, gets down. Ben Mashburn looking for help from Isaac Singleton as they go down the back straightaway for the last time. Will anybody's race. Martin Pluth looking strong, but you see the outside there trying to make it happen as there comes Richmond, who is also back on the lead lap.
It's still Martin Pluth on that lead. He's going to lead the boys around the corner here onto the front stretch. You'll see if anybody wants to jet out to pass Martin Pluth. You're seeing a lot of speed out of Jeremy Richmond on the outside there. Chris Darling goes to the outside trying to make a move. See the 97 Atelier right behind him, pushing on that number 4 machine. And you see Chris Darling get spun out on the front stretch. Looks like it's going to be Martin Pluth crossing the line here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series at Talladega. And he is our first 2-time winner here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series. And boy, he ran a race, Mitchell.
Definitely had to fight for it toward the end. Thought he was done. Got involved in that last caution there. So we see Chris Darling once again. Wrecked race car there. Unfortunate way to end for Darling. But Martin Plute fought back. Took the fast repair there that he saved down in the pits. Gets it to the end. What a move on the final restart for the 4 of Martin Plute. I think we got to go back and look at that restart for Martin Plute because he had some speed there. Shot right up the middle of the pack, up to the point, and just never looked back.
Almost like an Elon Musk rocket shot out of Cape Canaveral. He goes straight up, never looks back. But boy, did he run a awesome last lap there, Mitchell, as we're taking a look at that 10-4 broadcasting replay. Ooh. Dicey restart.
Yeah, like I said, there was definitely contact made somewhere. Everyone really on the edge, and you see the 4 just squeeze it in between. Ben Mashburn there had the help, I believe, a little bit from Chris Darling, just slotted in there behind Sobel. But that move, getting up to the inside of Mashburn, splitting Mashburn and Lavin there, that's what won, in my opinion, the 4 of the race. Was that move there we saw on the restart.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was a huge move, Mitchell. But if you take a look at that last portion of that last lap there, he kind of thought he might have been secure with the win, but he had a lot of speed coming in the outside lane. If it wasn't for Chris Darling getting a little loose on that front stretch, he might have had competition at that start-finish line. But boy, it is Martin Pluth burning it down here at Sweet Home, Alabama. He picks up the win here at Talladega, and boy, was it the right time to get that second win of the season. With only 2 races left here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series, we might be looking at our series champion.
We will have to see again. Only 2 races left. Martin Plute came into tonight 4th in the points, 32 points behind Jason Shue, who had really kind of a struggle of a night. Finished 10th, top 10, but definitely not the points night he had hoped for. Nate Maurer, of course, didn't race. Chris Darling wrecked there, coming to the line, finished 11th. And Martin Plute wins the race, so he is definitely looking at a solid points night tonight. We will have to wait and see exactly how that shakes out for Martin, as again we were catching him doing his burnouts here. We're going to have to get our interviews lined up, Will. We got to talk to some drivers here. That was quite the finish.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not even quite sure what that official grid was, As all we saw was Martin Pluth cross that line number 1, and there was a lot of calamity and a lot of chaos right behind him on that final lap there. So we'll have to see who our second and third place finishers are. I believe it might be some rookies on this season here. As you see, Martin Pluth has had plenty left in that machine to burn it down here. Looks like it's going to be Talladega and Joshua Sobel is going to be our podium finishers there. So I'll go ahead and see if I can't get Joshua Sobel a copy here. Might be on pit road there, contemplating how he could have done better to pick up that race victory here. See if we can't get him in here for a quick interview. Just 1 minute, trying to get him a copy on the radio. Hey, Josh, this is Mitchell and Will up here in the 10-4 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Hey, man, third place. We saw you running strong all race long. Kind of take us through how that race played out for you, and I know you really wanted that victory here tonight.
I'm just kind of doing this for fun, really, more than anything. It's Talladega. It's luck at the end of the day. You got guys that go with you or guys that don't go with you, so you just hope that you're in a spot where if someone does make a mistake, it doesn't take you out in the process. So.
Yeah, only one caution in this race. It was between Chris Darling and Martin Pluth there at the end, but you saw Martin kind of get that fast repair rocking there. Did you feel like you had the speed to pick up the win here? We saw you racing really strong. I think top 5 here majority of the race.
Yeah. No, I wasn't expecting to win, honestly. I mean, you got Plute, you got Mashburn, and you got Darling. I mean, they're all together. They're going to stay together, so I wasn't expecting to even get a win. I was just expecting to at least cross the line, not getting damaged.
Yeah, man, you've been racing really consistently. I think we've seen you in the last 3 or 4 weeks. We've seen you racing in this series. How are you feeling going into Daytona Legacy next week?
I mean, again, it's just super speedways. Like, I want to feel great, but it's super speedways. So at the end of the day, it's going to be even worse of a coin flip at Daytona. It's a lot tighter. So, but hey, we went almost a whole 55 laps without a caution. So that's in my opinion, that's pretty damn good. Especially with a couple of new faces in here as well too, and trying to get used to how they drive. But I think it'll be fun. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you saw it out of those rookies. They really kept their cool, and when they thought things were getting a little dicey, they kind of backed off a little bit. But Josh, you're coming home P3 here tonight. Anybody you want to give a shout out to? Any sponsors? Anybody you might have watching here tonight?
Oh yeah, I just have Harpoon Design sponsor on here. Puts together all my paints and everything else like that. You can check him out on Twitter at Harpoon Design or his website at harpoondesign.com. I do have another sponsor, Angry Duck Graphics, but I don't have them on this car currently. They pretty much do racing apparel, and they also do schemes for real-life cars in Ohio. You can check them out at shopangryduck.com. Other than that, appreciate y'all for putting on the broadcast, and we'll see what happens next week.
Of course. Well, we appreciate you taking the time with us, Josh, and look forward to next week, and hopefully we talk to you in Victory Lane.
Yeah, sounds good.
Alrighty. That was Joshua Sobel, Mitchell, coming home here at P3. And boy, he said he's racing just for fun, but we saw a little bit of aggression out of him here in this race. Ran top 3, top 5 most of the race. I know he really wanted to pick up that victory here tonight.
Yeah, I know racing for fun definitely doesn't mean you're not racing for the win out here in this Max Grafix Superspeedway Series, and was trying to catch up with Mike Tellier, but I think he headed for the hauler and is going home a little bit early because I don't see him in Discord, but I did run down here into Victory Lane to catch up with race winner Martin Plute. Martin's Mitchell and Will up in the 10-4 broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Probably not as good as you down there, race winner. Tell us about those last couple of laps in that Beer Street Journal last call. Got shot up through the middle 3 wide, then got up to the race lead and held on to it. Do you think you were going to be able to pull it off?
No. I figured Chris was going to get around me. I thought him and Ben were going to get hooked up and make a run off turn 4, but yeah, I don't know what happened to Ben. But when Chris went out to the outside, he didn't have any help, so I just held that yellow line, and no, he didn't have a run, so there wasn't much anybody could do.
Well, you definitely put yourself in the right place in the right time, and saw you get caught up in that last caution, the only caution we had in all 58 laps that ended up getting run. Do you know kind of what happened there, or what, from your perspective, kind of what caused that one?
No, I should probably go back and watch and see what happened because I have honestly no idea. I know Chris came from the outside and into me, but I'm assuming he got turned at some point.
Yeah, it kind of looked that way from up here in the booth. Wanted to get your feedback on. Of course, that's probably the least of your worries right now. Of course, you picked up the race win. You were in it for the overall season championship. Only 2 races left here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series. I mean, your competition didn't have the greatest points nights here tonight. Of course, Nate Maurer wasn't able to come join the race, but do you think you have a shot here to win the series championship with only a couple races left?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who's up there really has a shot at the end. I think there's 4 or 5 of us right now that have a pretty good shot. So we'll just see what happens the next 2 races.
Speaking of the next races, we're going to Legacy Daytona, the bumpy Daytona. What are your thoughts going into bumpy Daytona? You like it?
Yeah, I like the bumpy Daytona. It's a good time. Usually it's a little bit more difficult, so it helps spread out the field a little bit more than here, for example. So it'll be a good time.
Definitely looking forward to seeing you all out there. That track always puts on a show. Before we let you go and celebrate Martin, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, thank you guys for broadcasting. And as always, it's always a good time to go back and watch everything. I guess, definitely need to thank Chris and Ben for helping me most of this race. We worked well together until I left poor Ben out 3 wide at the green white checkered, so I'm going to hear about that later. And thanks for Max Graphics for sponsoring the league.
Well, thank you for stopping by again, Martin. Congratulations, and hope to see you next week. Maybe we'll get to talk to you in Victory Lane again.
Thanks. See you guys next week.
All right, Will, that was Martin Plute, your race winner here at Talladega in the penultimate, I guess, race, you could say, here in the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series.
Yeah, and if he picks up another win or finishes in the top 5 next week, Mitchell, I think the point series might be his, depending on how those other racers do in that race. But I want to catch up with somebody who comes home top 10 in tonight's action. I want to see if we can't catch up with Brianna 11 before we end this broadcast here. Hey, Brianna, this is Will and Mitchell up here in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Hey, what a race to come out in your debut race, if you will. You're coming home at top 10 finish here, but you ran top 5 all night long. Kind of take us through how that race played out for you.
Yeah, my initial plan was kind of hang out in the back, and then I realized that not a lot of people qualified, so I figured I'd stay up front for most of the race, and Ben and Stan were so much fun to draft with, and just got shuffled out at the end.
Yeah, we saw it. Unfortunately, it happens here in the Max Graphics Superspeedway Series. I like to say it's like the series of unfortunate events, if you're familiar with that book or movie. But we saw things play out for the long run there. We only saw 1 caution in tonight's action. What's your take on the action here in the Max Graphics Superspeedway Series, and are we going to see you next week?
For sure, I'm coming for the next 3. I got to prepare for the Grand National Series at Daytona, so this is quite fun for me. It was clean racing the whole time. We had a couple scares with cars at the front, but it was really just everyone was playing it safe with each other, and we were just having a bunch of fun.
It is definitely fun here. And Mitchell, you have any questions here for our debut racer? Because, boy, we were calling her name out a lot here tonight. She was laying down those hot laps and almost took home the victory, but as she said, she kind of got shuffled back in the pack there towards the end.
Well, I know you said you're prepping for Thursday nights in the Beer Street Journal Grand National Series, but, we're going to Daytona next week here too. Bumpy Daytona, though. And do you think you have a shot, again, to win next week? And how much preparation are you going to do for that race and the championship race here too?
Oh, for sure. I always put a lot of time and effort on just hosted races and whatever I can find on these tracks because they're always very treacherous. But I'm surely going to be here next week, so I don't see why not. We go for a win and just kind of have fun.
Well, thank you for stopping by and talking with us. And before we let you go, do you have any shout-outs?
I just want to say thank you to Chris for putting on such an amazing organization at NSRA. Really just everything, and I mean this is my only start in this series, but it's beyond fun. So I can't thank him enough for the work and everyone else that is a part of this. You guys for putting on the broadcast. It really is just it's amazing.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate you taking the time with us, Brianna, and hopefully we see you in victory lane next week. And great racing here tonight. Coming home top 10. I know you wanted that victory, or at least the top 5, but hey, good debut nonetheless.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And Mitchell, that was Brianna 11. I wanted to bring her into the booth here because, boy, we called her name out a lot here tonight. I thought she finished a little bit better than P9, but really good performance in the debut race there, Mitchell.
Yeah, definitely a good showing here tonight in her opening race, and a good showing for a lot of other drivers as well. Like we said, Martin Plute came in here, the first repeat winner now in this season of the Max Grafix Superspeedway Series. Definitely strong showing for Chris Darling. He's up there in the points, but unfortunately late race incidents kind of took him out of the running. Of course, we'll have to see kind of where he ends up next week, but if you want to see that as well, of course, join us next Wednesday at the same time here. We will be at the old iRacing Scan of Daytona. A ton of fun here. Of course, going to take you through the final lineup before we get done here. Martin Plute, of course, brought it home in first place. We didn't quite get to talk to Mike Tellier, but he did finish in the second position. Josh Sobel came home third, got to talk to him. Then in fourth place, it was Stan Hausman. Jeremy Richmond brought it home fifth. Randy Perdue sixth. Ben Mashburn ended up seventh. Isaac Singleton eighth. Brianna Lavin ninth. In 10th place was Jason Chu. Came into tonight your points leader, but that could shake up after this week. We'll have to wait and see. Then it was Chris Darling in 11th place, and rounding out the field in 12th was Jeff McCarter in the number 74. Will, only 2 races to go. Tonight turned out to be a very good finish, and it's only going to get better from here.
I'm telling you, Mitchell, and I feel for Chris, because Chris, like we had to mention throughout the broadcast, they really want to pick up that victory on the season. It's always just a last lap thing. It's always like a last lap incident that causes them not to be in victory lane, Mitchell. But boy, with 2 races left here in the Max Graphics Superspeedway Series, it just feels like the season has just flown by, and it really has, with 9 different winners on the season. But Martin Plute is our first 2-time winner on the season here, and where he is putting himself in a prime position to take home this series championship with back-to-back races at Daytona, one at the old Daytona Legacy and the one at the new Daytona. Boy, if he can just pick up just another win or a top 5, it could really solidify his spot in the points table, probably at the top. But what a race we had here tonight, Mitchell. I lost count of the amount of lead changes we had. It was really clean racing, competitive racing. We had a caution, I believe, with 2 laps to go. Boy, it's always this competitive action out of the Max Graphics Superspeedway Series.
I'm actually trying to find that number for you. We had 30 lead changes tonight.
Woo!
That is a
out of 12
high number.
cars.
High number here. 30 lead changes tonight at Talladega. My quick little mouse work there to get that one pulled up. But yeah, I mean, 12 car field, not the biggest field we've had here in the Max Graphics Superspeedway Series, but they definitely put on quite the race. A lot of green flag racing. Of course, I think the best finish I've gotten to see up here in the booth with you all was tonight. Of course, you said Martin Plute bringing it home. Definitely a driver to keep our eye on here as the series gets to a close. Do you have any other final thoughts before we sign off tonight?
Well, you're really starting to see with this series, I know we're towards the tail end of the series here, but you're really starting to see with the influx of these new drivers coming in, starting to kind of get a glimpse of what next season could look like with these new drivers in this field, mentioning Jeremy Richmond. I know Perdue might have been a name that raced with us before. Brianna Levin came in and raced really well here tonight, but you're starting to see kind of like some new blood, if you will, come into this series and kind of spice things up a little bit. It's really giving Ben Mashburn and Chris Darling a run for their money, and I think that's kind of like shut that door for them past couple weeks with these new rookies coming into the field. But Mitchell, I am excited to close out this season to see who's going to take home this points championship because it has been airtight throughout. Like I mentioned, with 9 different winners on this season, it's really anybody's championship. And I can't close this broadcast, and we can't end it without giving another shout out to Tim, our wonderful producer here at 10-4 Broadcasting. We want to wish him well. We want to wish him a speedy recovery. We can't wait to have him back up in the booth, and I know y'all want to have him back on the track racing with y'all as well. And Mitchell, boy, I can't wait for Daytona Legacy next week.
Yep, Daytona Legacy next week, and then it is the newer scan of Daytona to finish out the season. We hope you'll join us next week. Again, as Will mentioned, we got to thank all the sponsors here: Max Graphics, Taz Racing Customs, Brookstone Animal Hospital, Beer Street Journal. I know there's one more. I had just thought of it.
Taz Racing Customs.
Taz Racing Customs. There we go. Thank you,
go.
Will. He's here to save me. I didn't have the tab. Usually I write them down so I don't forget. The tab is kind of buried in all my madness over here. But again, thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully you'll join us next week. Again, if you want to join the series, they are recruiting right now, so go check out the NSRA over on Facebook. Then again, for all of us here at 10-4 Broadcasting, I'm Mitchell Adams. Will, again, we're wishing a speedy recovery to Tim, and hopefully he can be back up with us here very soon. As I like to say at the end of all my broadcasts, hope